Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We're continuing our SEC football predictions today, and our next team just missed out on a bowl game last year, but really need to make one this year to get their coach off the hot seat. They are the Vanderbilt Commodores. Derek Mason is entering his 5th year as the head coach of the Commodores, but has only gotten them to a bowl game once, which they lost. So he has had a losing record in every single season as head coach of the Commodores, and he really needs to get back to a bowl game this year. This is by far not his best team that he's had at Vanderbilt, but does have the potential to get back to a bowl game with 7 starters returning on offense, led by Kyle Shurmur, a veteran quarterback who had a great QBR last year, and you have to respect what he's done for this Commodores program despite not getting the exact results they want. And on defense, they only returned 5 starters, but you have to respect Derek Mason, knowing how he knows how to coach a defense, and despite only having 5 starters returning, the majority of the players are seniors, and including that linebacking core that returns a lot of starters there and are all seniors as well. Vanderbilt should be solid on defense once again, but can they get back to a 6-6 record or better to get back to a bowl game and hopefully get Derek Mason off the hot seat? Because I feel like if he cannot get back to a bowl game this year, he might be out as head coach of the Commodores. So they start off the season at home against Middle Tennessee, and this shouldn't be too big of an issue. Vanderbilt can struggle like Kentucky against teams that they really shouldn't lose to. And this could be one of them. Middle Tennessee, never a team you want to sleep on, usually producing some solid seasons in the Conference USA. However, I think Vanderbilt will get a win here to kick off the season, and will be a good kind of a wake-up call, see what they need to do and fix, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Well, I feel like the offense is going to be their strength this season. I have a lot of faith in Kyle Shurmur, and I respect what he's done there, and I admire what he's done with that Vanderbilt program. Remain at home to face Nevada, a team that did not have a great year last year, should be improved this year in the Mountain West at least, but Vanderbilt should get another win at home. So 2 fairly easy games to kick off the season against Middle Tennessee and Nevada. To start off 2-0, so a promising start. And then they travel to Notre Dame. And this will be Notre Dame's 2nd straight year hosting an SEC East team, losing last year at home to Georgia. Now they get Vanderbilt, and I hate to say this is going to be a much easier matchup for Notre Dame than the Georgia matchup was last year. Playing at Notre Dame, playing in South Bend is just a very difficult place to play. And this is a Notre Dame team that I think could surprise some people this year coming out of the Independents. Have a solid quarterback returning in Brandon Wimbush, a very solid defense returning from a defense that struggled a little bit last year, defeating LSU in their bowl game. So this is a Notre Dame team that I think is poised for some great success this year. I don't think the Vanderbilt defense is going to be able to shut down dual threat quarterback Brandon Wimbush, that some people actually dislike. He did complete less than 50% of his passes last year, so maybe Vanderbilt can force him to throw a little bit. Maybe they could keep this game close, but I don't see them going on the road and beating Notre Dame, and I'm going to give them a loss there. And then they come home to kick off SEC play against South Carolina, and they hung with South Carolina last year, and the majority of the Vanderbilt and South Carolina games are usually good. They're usually close games, usually fun to watch, close, low defensive battle games. But this is, a South Carolina team that is the best under Will Muschamp by far, has a really, really solid offense, and a defense that should be improved as well with 6 returning starters. And I keep saying that I like Vanderbilt's offense, that should be their strength with 7 returning starters, but I've seen them have better offenses in the past under Derek Mason, and they still struggle. So Vanderbilt is usually a defensive-sided team under Derek Mason. Hopefully they can get some more points on the offensive side of the ball. This game's at home. I think they will give South Carolina a test, no doubt. I think this game will be close, but I think South Carolina is just going to have too much power on the offensive side of the ball and can maybe force a couple Shurmur turnovers on that defense, and that's going to be a loss for Vanderbilt. Then a win at home, of course, against Tennessee State. No problem there. And then at Georgia, a team that they beat on the road 2 years ago, 17-16. That was a big-time upset, and that was when Vanderbilt actually made their first bowl game under Mason, losing to North Carolina State in that bowl game. This is on the road at Georgia, a team that played the national title last year and has so much firepower on the offensive side of the ball. Georgia looking to avenge that loss that they had 2 years ago at home. Yes, they annihilated Vanderbilt in Nashville last year. I don't see Vanderbilt going on the road and winning again this year like they did just 2 years ago. I think Georgia's going to have too much power on offense, and that defense led by Kirby Smart is just going to be too difficult for any Vanderbilt offense to get generated. And, of course, like I said, I think the offense is going to be the strength, but if they force Shurmur to throw too much, because I don't have a lot of faith in their run game, I think Georgia's going to get a fairly easy win here at home, so a loss there. And then Florida, another team that Vanderbilt has hung with over the years. I think last year they lost at the Swamp by 14 points, so not too bad. They were in that game in the fourth quarter. So this is a Florida team that's completely different from what we saw last year under Jim McElwain, bringing in Dan Mullen, 19 returning starters, 10 on offense, 9 on defense, a better quarterback, running back, wide receivers, you name it, they've got it. That doesn't mean great success immediately for the Gators, but I think it's going to be enough for them to come on the road and get a key win here against Vanderbilt. It could be close for about the first half, and I think Florida pulls away there in the end, so a loss for Vanderbilt there. At Kentucky and at Arkansas, back-to-back road games for the Commodores before they head off for their bye week. And keep in mind, their bye week is late in the season. Their bye week doesn't even come to the first Saturday in November, so they play 8 straight games without a bye week. So a very tough slate for the Commodores. At Kentucky, a team that brings in the number 1 junior college quarterback in Terry Wilson, so that is going to be a big-time get for them. He's dual threat, and Vanderbilt will face a number of dual threat quarterbacks this year, so that's something they have to hopefully their defense is going to be able to contain. Benny Snell at running back and a solid defense for Kentucky as well. I can see this game actually being low scoring, and if they can shut down Benny Snell and force Terry Wilson to make some plays, maybe they can pull off the upset on the road at Kentucky, but I'm not seeing that yet. I like Kentucky, so I like their defense this year. I like that it's at home for them. And I think Vanderbilt loses another game there on the road. I think they lose another game here at Arkansas. An Arkansas team bringing in Chad Morris and John Chavis on defense, a new scheme. I think Arkansas, hopefully their offense will be able to get better. I mean, this late in the season, right before November starts, their offense should be clicking. Whoever's at quarterback, whether it's Cole Kelly or Ty Story. In the defense, I believe returns 8 or 9 starters on that side of the ball, and should be much improved from a disastrous defense they had last year. So I think with that being on the road and all those factors coming in, I just don't see them beating Arkansas, especially on the road. And then they get a bye week coming into Missouri, and a much-needed bye week at that, losing 4 straight games. And they're at Missouri, a team that has a lot of offense as well. Demaria Crockett at running back, Drew Lock at quarterback, and then a defense that should be improved under Barry Odom. When he took over as head coach, I thought their defense would be a lot better just because he was promoted from defensive coordinator, but that has not been the case with Missouri. It got better towards the end of last season for sure, but hopefully it'll be much better for the entire season this year. This game also on the road, so 3 straight road games in the SEC, which we all know anytime you're on the road, but especially in the SEC, it's difficult to play in. At Missouri, I don't think they're going to get a win here. I just think that Missouri's just going to have too much offense, and the Vanderbilt defense are going to wear them down, because I don't see that Vanderbilt offense being able to sustain long drives against this Missouri team, especially on the road. So if that Vanderbilt offense goes a quick 3 and out, the defense is going to be back on the field fairly quickly, and they're going to go up against a fast and really good offense against Missouri, so a loss there. And then Ole Miss at home, I could see them beating Ole Miss. I could see that. They've hung with Ole Miss in the past and given them fights for sure. But this is an Ole Miss team that, once again, I like a lot. I don't have them going to a bowl game, or even though they can't go to a bowl game, I don't have them reaching in the 6 wins that they would need. They have a solid quarterback in Jordan Tayama. They have a solid wide receiver cast with DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. And the defense will be a question with Matt Luke. I don't think it's going to be one of their strengths. So maybe Vanderbilt can exploit that defense with Shurmur and some of their wide receivers. They also return their tight end, so that's going to be good. He's going to have plenty of receivers to throw to, targets to throw to. But I just don't think that they're going to be able to get the win at home against Ole Miss. They could. This is one of those games I struggled on. I could see it going either way, but I think Ole Miss's offense is just going to be too much for that Vanderbilt defense, and another loss here for them. But I do have them finishing out the year with a win over their in-state rival in Tennessee. I think with it being at home, they've owned Tennessee these past couple years. I think they're going to get them again. A Tennessee team that I do expect to struggle this year under first-year head coach Jeremy Pruitt. I think with it being at home and the offense that Vanderbilt could have with Shurmur going up against a struggling Tennessee defense, and then Tennessee's offense led by Keller Chris, but a couple questions along there, especially on the offensive line. I could see Vanderbilt pulling off a game here late in the season, the last game of the season. That wouldn't mean anything, but it would give them some pride and a big win over their rival to finish the season 4-8. And the bigger question is just going to be, will that be the last game, or would maybe Missouri or Arkansas be the last game for Derek Mason? Will this be the last season Derek Mason coaches at Vanderbilt if this holds? If Vanderbilt does not make a bowl game, if they go 4-8, maybe they even go 5-7, will this be the last year Derek Mason coaches at Vanderbilt? I think it will be. 5 years that he coached there, only gotten to a bowl game once. But if you look at the schedule, there are some games that they could win. You got this 3 guaranteed, or in my opinion, guaranteed wins they could get there. Maybe they can beat Tennessee. Maybe they could pull off an upset on the road at Kentucky or Arkansas. Maybe they could steal Ole Miss. So there are enough games here that if Vanderbilt can get some things to go their way, they could win a couple and get to the 6-6 mark. I'm just not seeing it this year. I think 4-8 is a little more reasonable, a little more realistic for the Commodores this year. And of course, we'll have to wait and find out. I know Derek Mason's going to have his team ready, and they're going to be giving everybody a fight in every game they play in. So 4-8 for the 2018 season for the Vanderbilt Commodores. As always, please go check us out on Twitter at Gridiron Expert and on Instagram at The Gridiron Expert. Tons of new posts there, behind-the-scenes posts, news, anything you want on both those platforms. And all of us here on YouTube, as always, please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.